Well, hello everybody and welcome to your language teaching and learning channel. My name is Santiago and today I have a very special guest star. He's a very good friend of mine and a colleague English teacher, Mr. Harthman Carpio Montenu. Hey, how you doing, Harthman? I hope I pronounced it correctly.
Hi, Santiago. So good to see you. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm quite honored. And you thought of me for this interview, And well, I'm enjoying my summer vacation, my family, given the circumstances.
Mm.
And I was actually struggling to remember for how long have we known each other?
Well, I'd rather not say because then they'll think you're very old, you see.
Wise.
But it's been quite a while. Yeah, we met quite a while back. Tell us something about yourself, before we start the interview.
Okay, so I'm, what can I tell you? I'm a Romanian-Ecuadorian hybrid. I established here in Ecuador in 2002. That's 18 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Here is where I actually discovered that this teaching makes the perfect fit for my three passions that I have: language, philosophy, and psychology. And at the moment, I teach English, at a high level at an IB school in Quito. And last but not least, I'm a dedicated family man.
Oh, well, congratulations about that. And okay, so you're teaching the higher levels, right? Like high school.
I'm teaching high-level English at high school students, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Baccalaureate level, particularly IB teaching.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And how long have you been teaching?
Oh, I've been teaching. So here, basically, starting 2003.
Mm-hmm.
And then, well, it was according to the circumstances back then, but I actually discovered that I'm good at it, and that I can, as I said before, I can put some things together. So it was interesting for me to do that for about 18 years.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
out of those 18 years, 14 years as an IB.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we've probably known each other about 15 years and more or less.
I was thinking about that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
All
it's
right. Okay, pretty good. Tell me, what do you think is the most challenging things about working with, in this case, teens or late teens in schools?
That's a good question. It's can you really point out one aspect only?
I know,
But
whatever you think.
but now that you're asking, I think I would mention this media and technology would be challenging. On the one hand, it's wonderful to have it, and use it, technology in the classes, but it's challenging because technology distracts, especially teenagers. Yeah? And self-control, it's not one of their strongest virtue in my students. That's one. And the media, although you find information, useful information, you have to know how to select it. So because the media misinforms mostly, and the youngsters are driven by this impulse they have, believing that everything they place their eyes on, everything they read, especially on social media, without filtering or questioning or further investigating, so they are manipulated. And it becomes difficult because they do not read anything else but just the posts, so if they would read literature, that would be a different story. It's a torture for them to have them read. I have to threaten them with tests and stuff, so reading control. So I make sure that at least a little bit of something else than the media is read, so they can develop their thinking skills or perspectives. So I find that's a challenge for the quality of the work when it comes to, for instance, formulating an argument about any topic that you bring into class, and that formulation, that opinion becomes mostly superficial. It's not their own. It's mostly copy paste from something else, or it's just a repetition of an idea they heard before. So uh, what kind of an argument you can have in writing or let's say a debate, you know.
Mhm.
So this is what I find challenging.
Okay, you mentioned something very interesting. I've worked in schools too, but I've mostly worked with adults, and I find that they usually have the same problem that you're mentioning. Do you think that's maybe a cultural aspect? Like they have trouble stating what they really think. They just kind of like copy something, and or maybe this is what the teacher wants to hear.
Yeah. Well, cultural, yeah, it has something to do with culture. For instance, I remember when I was young, when I was in school, I was a reader. Well, there was not much to do back then, not even TV though.
I'm
So
sorry
we
to
had to read.
interrupt. Yeah, I can imagine in your time, yeah, but not TV. But were you studying here or in Romania?
No, I studied in Romania. I came here in 2002, as I was saying,
All right, that's right. I'm sorry.
and I left. I had my education back home on Romanian soil,
Mhm,
but so I was reading. You know, I love reading, and it opened. You know, it gives you creativity, imagination. It teaches you language first of all. You know, so you have a rich vocabulary. So it would help you express what you need to express. So and well, being taught how to think, how to present an argument, it's also part of the of all this uh, of what we have right now. It depends on the teachers how well they teach their students to do that, and it depends on the times.
mhm,
Of course, it's not the students' fault; they don't know how to do that because they're surrounded by technology and media. So it's a
mhm.
challenge also.
Yeah, that's the other problem now.
Uh,
Now, I have a question. You said that you were reading a lot when you were in school. Was that only you, or was it normal for?
no, it was normal.
Right. Okay. Well, that's what I meant by the cultural aspect, because like I grew up in Canada, and it was the same. Like, and I always tell my students, my first ID, when you're a little kid, is your library card.
Oh yeah,
And that was like, whoa! Now I can borrow books,
yeah. I gave that a good use.
and it just never ends, and so you continue doing that all your life. So you actually develop you enjoy reading, and
Uh-huh.
it helps you, like you said, and I think that that definitely helps you a lot, right?
Exactly, it's a habit. It's a skill. You develop the skill through the habit. So yeah, I got when I was in primary school. I don't remember exactly what grade, but I actually received the prize for being one of the, if not the, the nerd who went to the library and took out all the books possible.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember I read a lot.
And you
I read a
actually
lot.
read them.
Yeah, and you had, but well, the environment provided you with the public libraries. It was easy to get access to that. It was entertainment and entertaining to do that for me at least. And because it also happens when you have a good example that comes from home basically. You mentioned culture before, and I couldn't help but notice that in this culture, when they build homes, they don't put in libraries. You know, there's no space for library. So the books, where do you put them? Where do you have your books? So my grandparents had they were readers, and they had great libraries there at home. It was
Mhm,
full of libraries, books. I'm sorry.
mhm,
So well, I saw them doing that, and then I started little by little to do that and
mhm.
copy them.
Right.
You know,
Mhm. Okay, yeah. Well, yeah, that's the interesting thing, and unfortunately, you can see I normally do the videos in my library, and
yeah.
today I don't know why I decided maybe I'll change the scene. I should have I should have done the video there. And it's interesting that you mentioned that, because I finished talking. Well, I talk about specific the skills, so I finished talking about reading and the
Mhm.
importance of reading and how to
Yeah.
make develop a, the kid
Like,
the interest in your students, reading, and how that will help. And so this comes at the right time, right? And
Exactly. Sorry, how can you, as a teacher, how can you teach if you don't have that passion for reading? How can you teach reading? So
exactly, that's the thing. And I remember when I was teaching in the school where we taught, I remember, you know, like, I mean, it was the same in Canada. I'm sure it was the same in Romania. You know, they say, okay, you got to read these books in English. And I remember we had 3 books to read in the whole year, right? And they said, okay, the first term you read this, you know, one book for each term. And I went to each of my classes and I said, okay, listen, guys, these are the 3 books we're going to read. You know, I didn't take the usual approach. You know, okay, we're going to read this book. That's it. So we have this 3 books to read in the year. You guys decide which book you want to read first,
yeah,
second, and third. And it was very interesting. For me, it was a lot of work because this was like on a Thursday or a Friday. And we were supposed to start reading on Monday. And each class, I had 3 classes, they each decided to read a different book.
mm-hmm.
And the reasons were very interesting. You know, one of the classes, they said, okay, we want to start reading this book. Why? I found out later it's because they had already read the book in Spanish.
Yeah.
So they said, oh, so it's going to be really easy. They didn't know the reality. And then I had another group. The other group said, no, we want to start with this book because we haven't read it. We don't know what it's about, and we want to learn from it. So the idea, you know, for me, it was a lot of work because I had to read the 3 books on the weekend, prepare for the classes. But for them, they found that, you know, whatever, if they didn't have a good decision, a good reason for choosing the book, it actually ended up being worse for them, you know, because they realized, you know, oh, we read this book in Spanish, so it'll be easy. But it was actually more difficult because I taught them how to analyze and everything, you know, so it's kind of different. Anyway, you mentioned about your grandpa and, you know, having a place for books and stuff, which people normally don't have. And, but, you know, I don't know, maybe kids should see that they have an advantage now, because this is what I've mentioned in my videos before. You know, before, yeah, we had to have the physical book and stuff, but now you have everything here. So you can just, you know, have access to, and I've seen it, you know, because I'm working with kids too and everything. And I've seen, you know, videos of people reading books for kids and everything now. So the kid just has to, you know, look at the pictures and see them move in the book and stuff. Maybe they have more access to that now. What do you think?
Yeah, well, they do have more access. The challenge is to separate them from their games. Though, I believe this introduction to reading shouldn't happen just on. I mean, first contact that they would have with the book shouldn't be on the phone or a device. It's very I don't know if I can say impersonal, but it's very cold. It's just screen. When you hold the book in your hands, you can, you know, feel the paper. It even smells. You can associate sensations with that physical book. And for example, I remember from my grandfather especially, that he was after lunch he would make himself a cup of coffee or cocoa. So I associate that smell with the smell of the page of a book, and well, that. So, and it's it should come in all forms. Have them hold a magazine, have them hold a book. You can spread some magazines and books with the subjects or topics they enjoy since they're little. Through the house. You spread them through the house and just leave it there for a couple of days or a short period of time, and then periodically you change them so they would see something new. The curiosity will push them to actually get in touch with any kind of literature, really. Not just on the screen. They should separate. I mean, we should try, and this is a big fight as a parent, separate the kid from any electronic device, because it's not quite healthy, yeah, to be constantly in contact with that. So
now, do you think that could be, I mean, I can understand what you're saying, right? Yeah, and I like, you know, feeling the book and the smell of the pages, turning the pages and stuff. I can see that. But do you think maybe that is a, you know, a generation sort of thing? Because kids nowadays, you know, I've seen videos of little kids, tiny little kids, you know, woof, using their tablets and stuff. So do you think that's maybe the concept that we have, like, okay, I need to have something physical here so I can open the pages and stuff, but maybe for the new generations, they don't need that? Would you think that? Or maybe imagine in
And they need
future
it.
generations even.
I mean, they do need that, of course, but they're already born with the technology chip implanted
Mhm.
naturally in them. The, they do need, I believe they do need the holistic approach of the skills.
Mhm.
It's not just technology, it's
Mhm.
something. Uh, Something else also exists because you can develop skills. Uh, well, I said already holistically, more completely, if I can say that, by using everything that you're surrounded by. I don't know. I had in my class topics like, will books become obsolete and will be replaced by, ebooks? Probably. Is there a disadvantage? Is there an advantage? So that's critical thinking that I was trying to have them see if, possible losses or conflicts that would come if those physical books or newspapers or magazines would actually disappear, or be not disappear, but be replaced by the version of them. And because they were not exposed to the real thing, the actual book, they don't even know what to think.
Right.
So I think it's a loss. Of course, yeah, it's easier to get information access, but um, the moment you publish, for example, the moment you publish a material, you have editors who check it, source of information, the right language used. I don't know, according to whatever it is that they do. I don't know. So the internet does not provide that only.
Mhm.
It has many flaws. Not everything that everyone can publish anything. So how do you know a fake from a real useful material? So it has advantages and disadvantages, of
Mhm.
course. For the future, I don't know what's going to happen. So,
You mentioned also that we as parents, we should have like different things, like so that the kids would actually, oh look, I want to read it. I don't know, because I've seen, and I'm sure you've seen that too, videos of, like, people don't really communicate or talk anymore, and like everybody's on their cell phone, like, so that they could actually, if you throw something on the floor, the kids would probably just step over it and just continue on their cell phone. So how can they be attracted to a book? You know what I mean?
of course, I mean, look, a responsible parent would
Uh-oh.
set some, yeah, will set
Uh-oh.
some boundaries there. I mean, you can use this phone. I can't just take it out of his life in my son's case. It would be unwise, but I can set some limits, and then so he would have time to get bored, to find a way out,
Mhm.
and then his curiosity would naturally push him towards other elements that he can find in the house. Yeah,
Mhm.
so he can. So I mean, they have to be helped. They have to be taught. They have to be guided. It's not just they won't do it. Yeah, because not even adults can control their use of telephones. It's difficult. There's Facebook, there's Instagram, there's news everywhere. The WhatsApp. Nobody uses the phone to talk anymore. It's just
Mhm.
texting abbreviatedly.
Mhm. Yeah.
So even we lose that skill. Imagine if we cannot control as adults, how can a kid or
Mhm.
well, teenagers do that if they
Mhm.
do not see it in their parents or at home? If I don't model it for my kid, he won't learn. So I have to um, be aware of this. And yes, technology is good. Of course, it's not good if it it doesn't have a purpose.
Mhm.
So you need to have a purpose for everything that we use, the printed materials and the technology and everything else. Television, of course, with computers and all.
Hmm. Okay. All right. Well, I was going to say, before we used to have, we teachers had a responsibility to try and get the students to enjoy things like reading and stuff like that. However, because of the circumstances now, everything has changed. And what
Of
you
course.
mentioned is, I think parents now need to realize that, um, it is they play a very important part in the education of their kids. And I'm sure they realize now in this lockdown
Yeah,
because they've had to be the teacher.
they'd be
These
forced to do
guys,
that.
yeah.
Exactly.
So, well, I don't know what do you think we could do now?
As
Well,
parents.
not just talking about reading, but in general, to improve the education of the children.
Oh, I don't know. As a teacher, I can tell you a million things. As a parent, I don't know which one you'd like to approach. As a parent, to improve the education, or we as teachers?
Well, let's talk about in general as teachers and then as a parent.
As teachers, it's complicated because we first we have to keep updated
Hmm.
and have learn ourselves first, be present in what is happening right now, and teach some students that would become professionals. I don't know, from here in 5, 10 years.
Hmm.
We don't know what's going to happen in 10 years.
Right.
So the challenge is to teach them skills for a future that we don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah. So we know
Yeah.
it has technology. We know it has that. Probably the best thing to do is, I don't know, I find it personally challenging to teach concepts like critical thinking. You know,
Mm.
and we kind of mentioned this.
Mhm.
Apparently, it was present in our conversation. What does that mean? How they analyze, how they investigate, how they use the reading skills, their comprehension, associating what they hear with, I mean, bits of information, putting it all together. That's critical thinking.
Mhm.
Being creative. Yeah? So in order to be creative, they have to learn something, to assimilate something, filter it, that information, and then um, present a new idea, a new product. So critical thinking, I believe it's essential for the future
Mhm.
for them to have. And well, as a student, probably it's one of the things that I found most difficult to teach is interdisciplinary,
Mm.
uh, actually learning, interdisciplinary learning. How able would they be to come to my English class and bring information from other subjects they've learned,
Exactly.
so create associations of the information's business. If you take a globalization class, for
Mm.
example, let's say this class, English class, the advantage of the English class is that you can talk about anything.
Mhm.
So I love that. It's I feel such a liberty that this subject provides me with.
Mhm.
So let's say we talk about globalization. Okay, did they pay attention in management, business and management class, so they can bring information or background of what at least the concept to define that concept, what
Mhm.
globalization is. Um, Maybe I'm asking them, I don't know, to look around them and see how are they affected by globalization. So they just simply pay attention. So do I have, for example, do I have technology with me?
Mhm.
Yeah. Where did I buy this come from? China? So where does that come from? Any object, anything that they use on a daily basis. And then maybe I ask them to do some statistics. Would they bring math knowledge
Mhm.
to do some statistics and collect some data and formulate an observation which comes from sciences, and so on.
Mhm.
So generally, it happens. Yeah, you have bright students, of course, that actually read. That's the difference. That's why I'm saying reading is important.
Yeah.
They actually read extra. They put their curiosity in different places, and they entertain themselves by learning,
Mhm.
assimilating information. So because they read, they can formulate an opinion, even if at the
Mhm.
beginning they just repeat it, you guide them as a teacher. So um, they would improve their, of course, their production of their ideas. But that's another challenge. Exactly, how um well can they use all this in their disciplinarity, if I can say that, um, in class. So I wanted to say something, but I lost my idea.
Well, let me interrupt you then. And I'm sorry, it's probably, I think this is one of the negative things of recording in this room is that it's just near the window here and the people ringing the doorbell and stuff. So I'm sorry about the distractions. But anyway,
No.
I think that has been one of the challenges that we have had as teachers because students unfortunately seem to think that, okay, I finished math, that's it. Disconnect
Exactly. Put
totally
it
from
aside.
math.
Exactly.
I did science, forget about science. Now this is
Yeah.
English class. I just want to talk about, and also within the subject, okay, we're doing the simple present now. Okay, oh, okay, we finished the simple present. Forget about the simple present. Now we're going to do something different. So students have always had this, that for some reason they don't link, they don't want to connect the
Mhm.
different things that they're learning, right? And unfortunately, we've tried very hard for students to see that reality, but they don't, right? So I think that would
Mhm.
be one of the challenges that we have, right, as teachers. What about as parents? You're a new parent, but
Yeah. Uh, as parents, well, you get to control and not smack them, but show them their consequences. So you can, if you want to, as a parent, you can be in control. And of course, we have an advantage because we're teachers and parents.
mhm.
So our kids should become geniuses in a way.
Yeah, really, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not happening. So, well, as parents, there's so many things we don't know, and at the moment we are first, not many parents are present in their homes. Yeah, they're busy especially now, maintaining the family, providing for the family. Unfortunately, I can sadly see that many of my students, all the students I had along the years, um, actually grew up alone. Yeah, maybe
Mm,
there's some grandparent there or an aunt that takes care of them, or
mm.
not even, you know, TV, telephone, they're the nannies. And that's basically it. So who's going to teach them? It's these you have a gap between the generations in this
Mhm,
aspect. Speaking not age-wise, but
mhm. Do you think maybe the problems that we've had now with the pandemic that has made them change a little bit? Because you're right, before, like, the kids would actually, grow up alone, like go to school. Maybe the parents left them at the school and then, okay, see you at night at home or whatever. And they didn't really spend that much time. But now that they have been forced to spend time together, do you think that actually would prove to be beneficial in the long run?
well, everything changed to be, yeah, for everything changed for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So from what I've seen in my students, um, in some cases, I would say it depends, but I hate that. So I tell my students, yes, everything depends on something, but I'm going to use it. Yeah. So it depends. You have parents who actually had were forced to spend more time with their kids, and they connected more. And also you have, I've seen cases that that was not a beneficial circumstance for them. Fights increased, conflicts, not fights, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Conflicts increased. They don't know how to cope with each other because they've done it so little that it's so new for them. It's
Mm-hmm.
sad, and it as if I care about my students a lot. Yeah, I love my students, and I believe that as a parenthesis, I believe that you can reach and teach your students if you reach them as human beings first. Yeah, because everybody has a story. So closing that parenthesis, and with this in mind, um, I'm I can see them. I can read them.
Mhm.
So they some of them are happy, and they actually improved. Some other uh, did not. Not all of them have a functional family, or they were forced to have different other responsibilities, as in taking care of their
Mhm. Younger siblings.
sick grandparents, for
Mhm.
example, doing the shopping, take care of the house, take care of the little children, because the parents had to work online.
Mhm.
So it's been a great change for everybody. I felt it on my own skin,
Mhm.
being a parent, being a teacher, and being actually, taking care of the house, cooking, cleaning, washing stuff. So you
Mhm.
have to divide in so many um, aspects and parts, responsibilities, that it is difficult. So how much attention do the parents put to their children? They discover they don't know their children.
Mhm.
Uh, the kids discovered who the parents really are. So it's
It's been quite interesting.
a
Yeah.
challenge. Yeah,
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 quite interesting for everybody. It's something that obviously we never would never have expected something like this to happen, and I don't think anybody was ready for it. And
exactly.
hopefully we
When,
can get the good things out of it.
when do we discover what we're capable of
Mhm.
or not? Is when we're put in a situation, that takes us out of either comfort zone,
Mhm.
either routine. So then we we get to discover things. You've learned probably some new things. I've learned some new things, and you know.
Yeah, yeah. It's been interesting and it's been challenging. Anyway, so we've talked about quite a few things here about education, and is there anything last thing that you'd like to say to add?
About education,
Oh no, in general, it doesn't matter.
well, um,
I got you in that one. Eh?
I want to say many things. Yeah, if you don't stop me, the things that I like to talk about the stuff that I've learned. So. I would like to tell the students and well, your listeners in this case, that in learning it's important to find a purpose. Without a purpose, a teacher cannot be the teacher. I mean, I can be the best teacher, but if the student doesn't work with me, I'm not the best teacher. And I have to motivate a student, but the student, so the external motivation is one thing, and the internal motivation of the student, it's also very important, which would be that purpose. For example, I start when I meet a new generation, because I work different years, several years with the generation, maybe starting in first baccalaureate and then fifth and sixth course. But there's a block of years that I work with them, and every time I meet a new generation, I tell them in this class, well, we have two rules. Respect is one, but the purpose is the most important, because if they don't have that, how they develop everything else, how they pay, how they come to class. Mhm. So what is that they would like to learn in my class? They can learn how to communicate, to be good communicators, or if even if it's just vocabulary, even if it's just learning how to read better, talking
Mhm.
about language, and in this case English. Yeah? So purpose is it's very important. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, and the teachers need the students, so they would be teachers,
Mhm.
and the students need their teachers.
Mhm.
So it's that's why it's important to get to that human side
Mhm.
of a
Right.
teenager.
Mhm.
If
Yeah.
we can discover that, well, yeah, purpose. Everybody has to have a purpose. If I don't have a purpose, I'm not a good teacher. If the student doesn't have his or her own purpose, they're not good
Mhm.
students. So
Yeah, Thank you very much. I think that's very interesting. I think, I don't know, students somehow seem to think that they they have to be there kind of thing.
Yeah, they're
And then
forced to.
I always tell them, listen, you don't have to be here. But we each have our profession, and your profession is to be a student,
Uh-huh.
and you should try to do your profession as best as you can. I think I mentioned that in the last interview that, I heard somebody told me, you normally tell the students, okay, look, 50-50 here, okay, 50% I put in and you put in 50%. And no, it's not 50. It's as a teacher, I give 100%, and you guys have to give me 100% for this
101%.
101%, right? Like
Exactly.
basketball there. So anyway, another thing that you mentioned before during the interview is that you enjoy what you do. So I think this is
Oh,
also very important, right? You have a purpose, and you enjoy what you do. You enjoy teaching, and that I think makes of us all teachers in general. We really enjoy. We care for our students, and that's what makes us good teachers. And also
yeah.
students who get involved. That's what makes them good students, right? And parents too, right?
Exactly. No, I forgot my idea.
Again, oh my God,
But
you're getting old
again,
there.
I'm getting clumsy. Yeah. Um, if you don't, of course, if you don't enjoy what you're doing, then why do you do it? The teaching is not just passing on some information to someone, and that someone has to memorize that information, and then you retrieve it
Mhm,
through a test. That's not teaching.
mhm,
Uh, it's important. I mean, what I like from this, as I mentioned before, it's philosophy,
mhm,
thinking about making connections. Critical thinking is there.
mhm,
Psychology, the behavior of the human being, is also there present. Pedagogy, it's is there. So if you put all this together, you get to manipulate young minds, and that's the future. That's the future right there.
mhm,
If you don't have the passion to do that, how would you change someone's mind? You know, of course, I was thinking from a great one of. Well, I have many people who influenced me in my life and in my, let's say, this career of teaching. You are one of them.
no,
I
thank you
had.
very
You
much.
remember
Hopefully
Jimmy?
in a good way.
Yeah, I remember Jimmy San Pedro.
All
Yeah,
right, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Patricio Calvache was. Well, so these two were the people. One of the people I admire, and they said exactly this. They put emphasis on how important it is to know the human being. You know, this purpose that I was talking about earlier. They um, they again, this is the third time, man.
Yeah.
I don't. But well, the general idea is that this you get to change the young minds because they're the future. Yeah, the future. If you uh, it came back. If you don't have to gain them all. Yeah, if you have 80 students, 120 students, whatever the number is, if you have one, if you manage to reach one of them, then your job is done. Yeah.
Mhm,
So you managed to change one mind. Now imagine what happens when you graduate certain generations and they remember your birthday and they write back to you. They ask you
mhm,
how you're doing. It's those were the changes. Now we're friends on Facebook, so so it's actually shows how many lives you've touched, and this is teaching. Yeah,
mhm,
you have to touch some lives.
mhm. Uh, yeah, and usually in a positive way. Yeah, you mentioned a couple of very good teachers there also, and they also had their own, way of thinking, and they, produce good results. So anyway, we kind of diverted a little bit from the script that I had, but I think it's been very productive because we have talked about education in general and everything. So it's been very interesting. I'd like to thank you very much for the opportunity to have this conversation with you. And I look forward to having more conversations with you in the future then.
Of course, I'm honored again for you considering me worth of your work, to make me part of what you do. I have great admiration for you, and you were one of the people that actually inspired me to become a better teacher. And you know, part of
Well,
names that I mentioned, it's you're there. You know, besides being one of my mentors, you've been one of my good friends. Um, you know, we cooked together and we jammed some music together. So um, I'm honored, and thank you very much for what you're doing. First, I think it's very important, and for allowing me to share a bit of what I know.
well, it's been fantastic, and well, thank you very much again, and good luck with you in your virtual classes. And
Oh yeah, not for 2 weeks.
all right, okay. Well, thanks again, and take good care of yourself. All right,
Yes, Santiago.
it's
Thank
been
you very
nice.
much.
Take care. Bye bye.